What is up, y'all? We are here for our weekly anchor message where we are getting our spiritual lessons and assignments for the week. So from the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle, we have the heart, followed by Kairos, followed by the destroyer, underneath the heart we have 8 of Swords, underneath Kairos we have the Page of Wands, back again this week. And underneath the destroyer, we have 4 of Cups. So before I let you guys listen to the audio, I'm just going to give you some notes from like the weekly energy from the Torah portion so far. I'm not going to go into the details of the Torah portion. I'm just going to give you the highlights of the main takeaways. So the one sort of quick note is it has to do with Isaac and Jacob and Abraham digging these holes in the ground. And the holes represent like the hole within us that represents like the desire, the container of the desire, the vessel through which we want to receive the light of the Creator, right? When we're in a hole, figuratively speaking, when we're in a jam, or when we feel like something's missing, or we feel unfulfilled, right? That creates like this catalyst for us to have a desire to become closer to the Creator. Because instinctually our soul knows that only the Creator can fill that hole and fill that void. And so many times in our lives, we go searching to fill that hole and that void through outer distractions, whether that be people, friends, lovers, fixating on other people's problems, maybe addictions or, habits or ways that you avoid and distract yourself, right? Or make yourself feel, excitement, temporary excitement. Some people are addicted to traveling and gambling or whatever. Everybody gets it from somewhere else. It could be very subtle, ways. But ultimately, these vessels are temporary and finite. And so we get a quick hit of fulfillment and light, and we're like, ooh, but then it's gone. And what we don't understand is that the vessel is just a container for the light of the Creator. And what we really want is the light of the Creator. But until we're aware that that is the Creator's light that we are reaching for when we reach that thing, it's like we're insatiable. This is a bottomless pit. There's a hole in the bottom of the bucket and it can't be filled. Right? So when we start to realize that those vessels are not going to quench our thirst, they're not going to satisfy. And in fact, not only that, they leave us feeling emptier than we did to begin with, right? Think about like impulse shopping or impulse eating or impulse sexual experiences, right? There's a euphoria in the moment, but then after the fact, when you realize what it's cost you, whether that be emotionally, calories you didn't want to take in, money that you didn't intend to spend, it's like then you're like, oh, you have a sinking feeling because there's consequences involved, and then your tank is empty anyway, and it's like you're still needing more, right? It's like you can't just keep going back. It's unsustainable, right? And yet the Creator is an endless source of light and an endless source of fulfillment. And so when we start to build our relationship with the Creator and we feel that presence, it's so comforting and calming, and it gives us that that inner peace that's known as God's rest, when you just feel like everything's in its right place, it's all going to be okay regardless of what comes. Like you just know everything's going to be fine, right? And then, you know, we it's like simpler things when we start to see God in everything and everywhere, in, you know, a beautiful crisp sky, or feeling it in a breeze, or feeling like nature is talking back to you sometimes. It's like when you see God's presence around you everywhere, it's like life becomes magical, and it's like going from black and white to suddenly being in Technicolor. And all of a sudden you're satisfied with much more simple, small things, and not only satisfied, but sort of delighted by them. And then eventually you get to the point where, like, the old things that you were seeking, you know, to give you that fulfillment and that hit of energy that seemed so shiny and enticing and seductive at the time, once you've gotten a distance from the pain and the anguish that they cause, right? You're like, oh, I don't really need to reflexively, impulsively reach for that anymore. I can reach for it in proper time, when things are right, when I know that, like, oh, this doesn't own me, right? I'm conscious, and I'm grateful to partake in the joy that this, you know, sandwich brings, or this date brings, or this, you know, whatever it is. But I don't ultimately need it, because I have the Creator, and I can take it or leave it. I can walk away. I can receive it. It's great. I don't make it an idol. I don't put it on a pedestal. I'm not addicted. It doesn't make me needy. Like, you know, so we are going through an experience this week that's going to, I guess, dig some holes in us. It's going to highlight where we feel maybe lack, or we perceive that there's lack. But what it's going to do, it's going to entice our desire, and it's going to grow our desire to be closer to the Creator. So that was one thing. The other thing was that when God was creating the world, and when God was finished and complete with nature, with the trees, with the waters, with the seas and the rivers and the plants and the flowers and the animals and the mountains and the waterfalls and the rainbows, God was looking at this beautiful creation, and he was hanging out with the Torah, you know, hanging out in the realms. And he was about to create man. And the Torah said, why are you going to create mankind? They're only going to sin against you. And they can't handle the punishment or the consequences that come with that, with going against these spiritual laws. They can't deal with the ramifications. So why are you even going to create them when they're going to provoke the wrath in you, and they're going to have, like, hell to pay, and they're not going to be able to handle it? Like, why even create them? Like, knowing that the humans are going to channel in all this darkness. And the Creator was like, zip it, Torah, because what you are skipping over is that I am nothing if not long suffering, and I've already created redemption. I've already created atonement. I've already created teshuvah. I've already created my compassion. And so God was already prepared to give us a path to return to the light. So the remedy is already there before the sickness, so to speak. So there's another aspect about this truth that is that we talk about this concept sometimes too, is that a person who has never gone off path or never sinned, but reveals some light in their soul, they transcend, they elevate some, that reveals some light. But a person who has really fallen hard and has made some big mistakes and was in a mindset, a wrong consciousness, they really had a lot to correct. And then they found redemption and they truly changed and they were able to transform their darkness into light. That's huge. That's huge on the cosmic scale. It's like someone saying like, hey, I shoveled this one shovelful of earth out of that garbage dump over there to move that trash over to the compost heap. I did this one little shovelful. Am I good to go? Compared to a person who might on the outside look like they are very negative or riddled with problems, but they had an earnest heart to change. And so it's as if they took the whole big pile of trash, like a whole big mound of it, like as big as a boulder, and they had to take that over to the compost heap and move that so it could be transformed. And then they're like, oh, sorry that took so long, pretty filthy, I don't know, it was sloppy, it was dirty, but we got it done, I made it work. Sometimes I was bleeding out of my blisters with my calluses being broken by this shovel, but I didn't quit until I was done. And I moved that big pile of shit over into the compost area so that it can be transformed into healthy, nurturing soil. Anything else y'all want me to do before I go? Right? Like, if you have made mistakes, don't beat yourself up. Just realize that those were the opportunities. That was the initial part of the project that God designed to take you through that part of the initiation to awaken the parts of you that you were like, oh, this is in my workbook to fix this, or to transform this, or to elevate this, or refine this, or evolve this. Right? So, I don't need to judge myself. I just need to say, here's the part that's not quite functioning properly. All right, cool. Now I know where to focus my work here. So you're like, oh, wow, this is great. What a pleasure. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to see this. Now I know it needs to be healed, changed, transformed, grown, strengthened. Right? So the mistake itself almost serves to give us a deeper desire to change and to be more determined than ever than had we just gone through and everything was just sort of okay, but we never had that motivating rock bottom to really turn things around. For instance, 2025. It has been, for many of us, such a chaotic and shit year and ugly year and violent year to watch, and perverse and corrupt and it's so far from the harmony and the coming together that we wanted, and lifting everyone up and everyone sort of like getting a little bit better off than we were, right? And it's like we all collectively, maybe not all of us, but I think a lot of us would love to live in a world where we're getting closer to that messianic era where people aren't exploited and they have their basic needs met, and the world is starting to heal and take care of one another, and we're starting to work cooperatively, and it's not about the bottom line, but, and there's quality products again, and there's customer service representatives, and, we want people to make a good wage and to be able to make a living, and that's good for the economy, right? And so it's like we want to lift each other up. And so the thing is, we've wanted this for so long, but underneath this seemingly functioning world system that we all knew was false and corrupt and riddled with festering infection, right? We knew that the system was broken, but it wasn't going to get dealt with until it was so despicable that there was no more Mr. Nice Guy, no more sitting around and tolerating this. This is intolerable. We must get to the root of this darkness. We must get rid of the hatred, get rid of the greed, get rid of the corruption, get rid of the exploitation of people. And so, unfortunately, but also the silver lining of this year, of this rise in all of these evil overlords and horrors everywhere, is that the people have awakened as a huge mass, critical numbers. And it has awakened a desire in our hearts to change and to seek out the real God, not this porcelain plate Jesus, not corporate Jesus, not machine gun Jesus, not McDonald's Jesus, not hunting license Jesus, like real Jesus. Like the collective world is really going back to the basics and saying, how have we lost the plot when it was always so very, very simple, right? So this has awakened this revolution and this apocalypse and this revelation, right? So I think that in a sense, the shit show has served a purpose, right? But what we need to do is get really clear that we don't want to keep sliding further into the shit show, that we need to keep working towards pulling ourselves out of this pit of greed, corruption, perversion, all of this evil and darkness, and get back into the light and get back into, that, I would love to see like village mentality again, tribal mentality, where we're really looking out for one another and nobody feels isolated or alone or left behind. Everybody's going to be all right. We're all looking out for the neighbor next door. And so I think in order to get there, though, we had to see how things really were in order to really get behind the furniture and do some deep cleaning. So I think that things are going to start shifting, and I think that we're already at a tipping point, but I think that we don't need to get overly confident that we've hit that tipping point. We need to keep going and keep on moving, which brings us to our reading. So now that we've prompted and there's been a catalyst for a deeper desire to be closer to the Creator, to make ourselves in the image of the Creator, to let go, to empty the self of the selfishness, of the carnal, what's in it for me mentality, the desire for instant gratification, to receive for the self alone, to avoid the process, right? To fall into spiritual laziness, right? We want to awaken from that and separate from that. So let's get into the reading. So let's just go back over the cards real quick, and then I'll let you guys listen to the audio. So we have the heart, followed by Kairos, which is divine timing, and the destroyer. Underneath the heart, we have Eight of Swords. Underneath Kairos, we have Page of Wands. And underneath the Destroyer, we have Four of Cups. All right, I'm going to let y'all listen to the audio, and then we'll be right back. It's like 2 minutes. There's seismic shifts occurring within the heart this week, like it wants to break open from the inside out. There is so much pain, conflict, violence, oppressions, and suffering in the world right now. The opponent would love nothing more than for us to collapse into frozen overwhelm, depression, and then ultimately giving in to despair. But we cannot and will not allow that to happen. Our ego's instinct is to shield us from this holy vision of sorrow. This vision in which we feel the pain and the impact of the darkness that has been channeled into the world by human hands. The opponent would love nothing more than to shut our hearts down, shut everything out, and hang our heads in anguish, or worse, numb the pain entirely. But that's not what's going to happen. We are rejecting that numbness and exhaustion with every shred of our being. Like we instinctively fight for our life, our heart fights for the integrity and redemption of our soul. We will not give up, and we will not give in. Every act of love is shifting things. Every act of compassion is shifting things. Every act of courage is shifting things. Every act of sharing and kindness and compassion and willingness to change is shifting things. Pay attention to signs and synchronicities that reach out and grab you. When divine inspiration moves upon you to act, you will know your moment. Do not hesitate to follow this guidance. Things have grown stagnant and must change. Opening your heart will initiate the process. The old timeline can no longer sustain or contain our expanding light and will grow more and more uncomfortable until true transformation occurs. When the moment presents, take your leap and let go. Don't look back. Don't continue to hold on to the old timeline, the old consciousness. It will only serve to tear you apart and leave you fragmented. Okay, so things are happening in the heart this week. And the heart, it's like it's pushing, it's contracting, it's pulling, it's squeezing, it's opening, right? The heart wants to open, and it wants us to allow in all these things that we've been afraid or avoidant to let in for a sense of self-preservation and wariness and self-protection. But the thing is what we've done is we have closed our heart down and shut it off. And so here we have Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is like being frozen in fear or frozen in overwhelm due to like a low-level trauma response. Right? And so we're not moving forward. We're just stuck and we're trapped, and it's all an illusion, right? This character here has outgrown this containment, right? The container, and that's like us right now. Our current level, our current circumstances, the way they are, cannot contain the light of this new generation, these new generations coming up, and we have greater expectations for the world and the healing of the planet and the forward trajectory of mankind. And the current system cannot contain us. The old wineskin cannot contain the new wine. We have a new consciousness birthing, and we have a second coming of Christ, and that is being birthed through the heart, through the consciousness. So we cannot go on in the status quo that we're in now. And so I think that when, things have been in flux, and I think we've sort of like kind of drawn inward in self-protection and self-preservation, but the heart is saying no. Knock, knock. Time to open up. Time to open the doors, right? Because we have to let the light in. We have to let fresh air in. We have to come out into the open, and we have to let people in as well. The heart is a bridge from the outer world into our inner worlds, into the soul, into the spirit. And so the bridge needs to be open. And so, for example, with the situation in Gaza over the summer, how everything just escalated and the intensity was off the charts, and the violence and the starving and the suffering, it was at its max. And I was really struggling and suffering for months with it, because I just felt so much. I I didn't look away. I didn't skip over those videos, and I connected with individuals and their story and their triumph and their struggles. And it like opened my heart. But it's no wonder people avoid it, because it's not easy to feel compassion and empathy. It hurts because you take on that person's pain with them. You hold it with them in solidarity, and it's uncomfortable. But it also opened up so much love and admiration and respect for the Palestinian people generally, just their resilience and their warmth and their hopefulness and their disposition through all of it, and they're coming together with each other. You know, when we hear these narratives about, well, you know, when civil unrest breaks out, you've got about this many hours before the store shelves are empty, and then people start fighting one another for their supplies, and then the looting starts. And it's like, they always say this, but I don't know if that's necessarily true, or it won't be, because we've already proven in many cases where the country as a whole has been put under a lot of pressure, and they thought we were just all going to lose it and go ballistic, and we haven't. And when you look at like places like, for instance, Gaza, where they're in the most extreme circumstances. Now, I'm not boots on the ground. I don't have exact reports, but I didn't hear anyone of the people relaying their stories, telling about what was going on the ground, about looting or people taking from one another. They're in tents. There's no security. Can't lock a door. It's a zipper. No one's taking each other's stuff. Everyone's respecting one another's property. If anything, they're all trying to help one another and coming together and helping each other survive. There are people who are literally living in tents, who are starting charity foundations side by side, like helping other people get their tents and things fixed, right? Because not everybody is good at social media or has the means to do it, right? And so the people who are on social media and communicating with people, and are able to like get people to donate to their accounts and things, they're able to also raise money for these other people and help them out too. So watching this whole thing, it's been moving, and it's really opened my heart, and also pulverized it with a meat tenderizer. And I'm so glad that it did, and I'm glad that I felt all the pain this summer, and I'm glad that I bore witness and watched and sat there and even spoke with people, you know, and gave them my tithe. And there's a family that I have just decided, like, I'm just gonna tithe to them. Might as well make an impact, like a tangible impact for a few people, you know, and hopefully that makes somewhat of a difference. And literally the last couple of messages she sent me was just like, I can't tell you how much it means to me that you have cared, and that you have shown us support, and that you have shown us love and prayed for us, and we love you. And I'm like people on the other side of the world in the worst conditions on earth, like I was able to get light to them, and I have been able to, and we can all do that, right? And it takes opening our heart, not feeling powerless and stuck, and not feeling like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm one person with no means. All I have is these tight circumstances. Everything's so tight. I barely have anything, you know, my situation's tight too. I barely make ends meet, but for somehow if you tithe, that money will expand for you. It will come back. And I will tell you this, I am not like, I don't make tons of money, But the weeks that I was giving out the most money, trying to help people get from North Gaza to evacuate, I mean, those weeks I made so much money at work, and like other people weren't necessarily, right? And so I can tell you that you can't think of tithing as, oh, I'm going to do this and this is going to come back to me. But if you can get through the fear and give and open your heart and just let people in, it will be a blessing, not just to them, but to you as well. So the heart is impressing upon us. The world needs us open. The world needs our heart open and soft, because this is how the world is going to start shifting and awakening and changing. There are so many great people who are starting to run for office, who are just everyday working people who just want to make life better for the average everyday person, and their concerns really aren't politically charged or partisan related. They just want to help everybody survive and better than survive, and thrive. And there are people that are leaving this extremism and changing their minds. And people are just really craving harmony and togetherness, right? And so, and even on a personal level, there are things changing in our circumstances where by opening our heart, our own personal circumstances are starting to open up. It's like the effort that we do to transform our heart and our mind and our mindset and our consciousness, it yields fruit, and the circumstances of our life begin to change. Now, in the meantime, we're sort of like poised on the precipice of these big shifts and these big things that are happening. So I think part of the assignment is to be actively standing by, right? If you come from a sports background and say like you're in the outfield and you're a softball player, baseball player, you're out there standing and you're not necessarily always moving around. So it's important to wait, but wait with energy, wait with like an active mind in player mode. And what is it? Game face, game stance, ready to move at any minute, right? So this here, okay, so Kairos is about divine timing. It's not about linear time. It's about that realm where like things can come together and parts and pieces and synchronicities come together, right? A time that exists beyond our like linear physical human timeline in the material world. So we're looking for this moment. It's like where timing meets preparation. Divine timing is going to strike, and we're going to get like this guidance and this insight. And another thing about this week is being the more work that we do, the transformation work, the more clarity that we have around what is divine inspiration and what is the trickery of the ego. What's the trickery of the opponent? Because many times it can be dressed up in a very nice, presentable, pearls and everything kind of presentation, and a lot of the time that's the opponent tricking you with what looks nice and presentable and clean package, right? So we're becoming more discerning. But when we get that divine inspiration and then we feel that in our heart that the moment is right, the timing is right, it's like we need to take that action when we're pressed in that moment to do it. Not in a reactive way, not in an impulsive way, but when you have the discerning feeling that it's now and this is the time and this is the direction, take the action and don't hesitate. Just do it with certainty, and know that the net will catch you, and know that the Creator will make up for your mistakes if your heart is truly 100% in the right place. Like I know I'm following the Creator's instructions. I know the Creator is telling me to do this. I'm doing the best I can with the timing. Like grace will meet you. Okay. So the Page of Wands here is that active, adventurous explorer, right? With the big magnifying glass. So pay attention. Pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to the timing. When I say pay attention to the signs though, like you have to let go and not be looking for them. Like we've all been there when we are in oracle abuse and we're like compulsively looking for the signs, and we want them to be telling us things, and we have a bias, and so we're looking for signs everywhere to confirm and validate what we already want to hear. So we can't do that. But as you're going through life, you know, when that moment comes where you're like, you have this weird experience with a wild animal, or like a big billboard just keeps presenting itself in your face, that kind of thing, pay attention to those synchronicities and look deeper into them. Pay attention to timing and those spiritual prompts and act on those, because change is afoot. It really is. The Destroyer card is about the undoing, right? So the old timeline just cannot fulfill us anymore. It cannot sustain us. The old status quo, the world system, the old consciousness that we had, the old storylines and dramas and things that we'd get into with people, the self-destructive patterns, the self-sabotage, like none of it is going to hold any kind of energy or weight for us anymore. It's only going to make us miserable and aggravated. So if we hold on to the old timeline, we're just going to get pulled apart. Think about the ferry pulling away from the port and the person's trying to like straddle both. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be pretty. So we have to let go of that old. And when life is moving us forward, we've got to take the leap and let go and allow it to happen. The Destroyer could, you know, take apart a mindset or a belief system, right? It could disassemble anything. But the point, though, is that we are emptying the self. We are doing the act of self-emptying. Our undoing should be the undoing of the ego, the death of the ego, the death of the carnal, reactive nature, right? The one that keeps us stuck, right? Because it's only going to bring displeasure. So the Four of Cups here is about like this boredom or stagnancy and the failure to realize a new opportunity, right? There's something on offer here, but this person is so bogged down in self-pity or their own sort of like brooding that they can't see what's on offer. They can't see the help that they're getting, or they can't see the new opportunity ahead. So instead of being bogged down in bemoaning circumstances, if you have difficulties coming up, don't be like this. Don't get all like the Zoloft cloud, like this sucks, I can't believe this. Just put yourself out on a limb, allow yourself to be crazy enough to entertain the thought that perhaps this might be working out for your highest good after all. So trust the process. Don't be upset or alarmed by things that are ending or that are trying to shift, but be hopeful and pay attention and be ready for the moments that present, because you're going to have to take a leap, because you're not going to have time to hesitate, right? It's like, do you guys remember, I can't remember in which Mario game, but there was one level where Mario would have to like jump on these little wooden blocks that were like floating in the air. And almost as soon as he'd jump on them, the block would fall and he'd have to jump on to the next one, right? So that's what it's kind of been like over the last couple of years with all of these, like the new timeline and a new timeline presents and a new timeline presents. It's like we're in this rapid stage of development where it's like a montage of quick cuts. And we're just like jumping, but we're going to land soon. And we're going to be in the new level where we're going to get a foundation set and build a structure and get bones and the framework going and build upon that. And we will have something to build on and be with. But for now, it's just been so rapid and so changing. So don't let that disorient you. Just realize that Scorpio is all about death, rebirth, resurrection, transformation. So that's what Scorpio season is here to do. It's here to drastically transform us, especially going into this new timeline. It's like it's almost like our purgatory, where the residue of the rest of the clouds hanging over us are just burned away. That way we can like go into the next era, into the next level with just so much more love and so much more divine awareness, and so much less dark soot that is just weighing us down like heavy baggage. You know, we're just casting that off and leaving prejudices and shittiness and hatefulness and selfishness and those things behind, because they're not attractive to carry with us. You know, it's just like, ugh, gross. I don't want to keep dragging this thing along. It's like when you're moving and you've got these worn out, crappy, nasty appliances or whatever, or like an old trash can. You're like, why do I keep carrying this old trash can? Like, I'm just getting a new trash can. We're going to start fresh with a new trash can, right? We're in this moment where we're getting rid of our old trash can and we're starting new. All right, y'all, that is all for tonight. Tomorrow, we will be back together tomorrow for our weekly manifestation oracle message. So until then, may peace be with you. Ciao.